Hey, every guest that comes on the show has to complete this sentence, so you're no exception. Life is ...
Oh, like a box of chocolates, I tell you that much now. Look, one thing I know in my life is highs and lows, and that's just a reality of it. It's highs and it's lows, but you can't get the highs. The highs can't be too high, and the lows can't be too low.
No one tells you what you're supposed to do. Where we're going and what you're doing's up to me and you.
Alice Kunek is a classic Jekyll and Hyde performer. Couldn't meet a nicer person off the court, white line fever on it. A heartbreaking late cut from the 2016 Olympic squad was in some way replaced by a Commonwealth gold medal as an Opal in 2018. All the highs, all the lows, success, disappointment, injuries. It's been a life-changing journey so far. Alice, welcome to the Inside Session.
Hello, thank you so much for having me. I'm so grateful to be here.
So nice to see you. Let's get straight into it because I was fascinated to know that you have your heritage, Croatian grandparents, and there's an Irish lineage in there through your mum's side as well. That's a powerful combination.
It's a very mixed bag, isn't it? I know everyone, whenever they meet me, when I play in Europe and stuff, they're always like, Kunek, what nationality is that? And I'm like, oh, my grandpa's Croatian and my grandma was Slovenian. And then they're like, but you've got an Irish passport. And I'm like, yeah, my mum's side's Irish. And they're like, and you're Australian. They're like, wow, you are absolutely a mixed bag, aren't you?
I don't know what happens when you put those two groups together, but maybe that's a reason why you are such a competitor on the court, because that's part of your reputation. You're fierce when you play.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I definitely am a competitor. Got a bit of white line fever, some would say. And I think it's a little bit of I wouldn't say it's a misperception, but a lot of people, when they meet me, they're like, oh my gosh, like, you're actually nice. And I'm like, oh, I didn't know I wasn't nice. But I mean, I think my grandpa and my grandma instilled like a really strong work ethic and a strong will to, compete and just be the best version of yourself every single day. And I guess that's the way I play on the court. And, I'm all for a lot of fun. But also at the end of the day, I really, I want to win, I want to succeed, and I want to see everyone else do well around me as well.
And you've been able to take that work ethic to so many different places. I was looking through your resume of where you've played, from Perth to Melbourne to Sydney to Canberra, overseas on so many different occasions. It's really taking you to so many different places, hasn't it?
Yeah, no, I've been more than lucky, more than blessed. And sometimes you almost have to pinch yourself a little bit just to think, wow, like I've been to all these places. And I had started my career in Melbourne, played for the Boomers, Dandenong, and then went back to Melbourne Boomers. And then from there I went to Europe, had my first little short stint in France. Loved my time in France, and then played in Perth, loved being over in fellow WA. I mean, you can just stay at the beaches all day. Life's good there.
Yeah, it's a great part of the world.
There is there. It's a beautiful part of the world. And then from there I went and played in Poland last season. Loved my time in Poland. Poland's such a beautiful country. It's really that Eastern European bloc, and I think it probably resonated with me a lot because my grandparents are from that Eastern European kind of region. So loved playing there. And then last season actually played in Sydney, which loved my time in Sydney too. However, I'm actually going back to Poland to play. So I'm actually signed next season to play in Gdynia. So it's up the top, not near the sea. So yeah, really excited to be heading back to Poland and just feel really grateful for my journey and the places that I've been.
How many English-speaking players are going to be on your roster?
I actually have met a lot of the girls because one of my really good friends, Beck, played in the team the 2 years before me, and I went to go visit her when I played in Poland. We both played each other, and a lot of the girls do speak English. I know there's a German girl, there's a Slovakian girl, a Lithuanian, obviously Polish girls. Then there'll be me. There's just so many different nationalities, and I remember when I played in Poland, not last season, the season before, you know, we had like Lithuanian, French, myself, Croatian, my coach was Slovakian. He also spoke Russian. It was just it was just crazy, you know, and sometimes he'd speak in Polish and then he'd speak in Slovakian, then he'd speak in English. Half the time I'd be like, oh my gosh, how does this guy even know, like, to change nationalities?
It's incredible. You've had, look, you've jammed so much into your career so far, and it's been full of amazing highs and some challenging lows, like any sports career.
Yeah.
Let's go back to 2016. You know, one of the final cuts from the Olympic squad, you were almost there and then you weren't. What was that like at the time, and how did you rebound out of that?
Yeah, look, 2016 was a pretty tough year for me. I'm not going to lie. A few different things happened, and you know, I felt like I was playing good basketball, and unfortunately that's just life. You know, you're not always going to make the cut. And I think for a long time, not that I beat myself up, but I just kind of thought, well, why not me? You know, why aren't I the one making the Olympic team? And then, you know, you just kind of realize, like, you just have to put your best foot forward at every single time. And that's what I did. And so 2016, 2017 was a pretty tough year. I went to France, and then from France, I kind of had a really low point in basketball, and I wasn't sure if I even wanted to play again. And
Really?
Yeah, no, I'd gone from missing the Olympics to then I had a pretty average, tough season at the Boomers. And then I went to France, and I had a really great but tough experience. I went to a bottom 4 team, and we were playing in playdowns. And while I was there, they sacked 3 coaches in the 3 months that I was there.
Wow.
And first time being away from home, I was living in a hotel. French girls didn't speak much English, / I had just come in for the last 3 months, and they didn't really want to be my friend, which, you know, I don't blame them. If, you know, an outsider came in, and I was Australian. And anyway, long story short, we ended up staying in the league, which is an amazing achievement. But I really, you know, I can admit I really struggled. I remember calling my parents one day. They were coming over to visit me at the end of the trip, and we were going to do like a 3-week trip at the end. And I just said, you guys need to come earlier. Like, I was like, Dad, would you mind coming earlier? And, you know, it's hard to admit that you're struggling. And I think for a long time I couldn't admit that I was struggling, and I did. And I remember just being like to Dad, I just need you to come. You know, I'm really not in a good place. And from there, Sandy Brondello got the coach for the Opals after Brendan Joyce in that next, you know, 4-year period. And I remember making the Opal squad, which obviously very grateful to make the Opal squad. And there was a camp on the 4th of May, and my parents had obviously come to France to visit me, and I just said, I'm sorry, I can't do the camp. And for me, you know, I'd been in the Opals for 5 years. Wow. And for me to turn down not going to a camp, you know, playing for your country is the best thing in the world. And I just remember thinking, I can't do it. I can't go. You know, I can't. And one, my parents had made the sacrifice to come over and visit me, and I really wanted to make that trip with them. But no, I couldn't do it. And I had that reflection, and they ended up changing the camp, so it was actually fine. But I had that reflection time to just think, okay, really, what do I want out of my basketball? Do I want to keep doing this? Is this for me? Is it too hard? Should I just get a real job and just be normal and, you know, just finish my master's out and then just, you know, live the normal life? But I think that trip with my parents really was like a turning point for me, and I had a lot of time to reflect and realize how much I did love the game. And I think once I took the pressure off myself to just be like, you know what, you're not going to be the best for everyone, but as long as you give your best every single day and do it for yourself and your family, not for other people, I think then that's when things really changed, and the trajectory of my career really changed as well.
How difficult is it? I mean, right at the moment, you can hear, obviously with the isolation and being so, travelling between borders being very difficult still.
Yeah.
And a little bit of, I'll say, precious behaviour, maybe from some AFL players that, you know, the concerns over travelling and performing away from home, etc. Yet we have so many athletes, golfers, tennis players, and you're an example that you're living out of a suitcase, or you're living in a completely foreign environment. Just how difficult is that challenge, that feeling of isolation?
Oh, I mean, yeah, it's huge. I mean, I'm at my parents' house at the moment, and I feel like I'm just constantly in bags. Like I even said to Mum, I was like, I'm just sick of, I actually got rid of all my clothes because I'm like, I'm sick of carting things, and you just realize you wear the same thing all the time. Anyway, different story. Makes us be very minimalist.
Yes.
Yeah, it's tough, and it's not for everyone. I won't lie. That first year in France was tough. I don't think I slept well for 3 months because I missed home. My nephew was about to be 1. Everyone's at home enjoying themselves, and you're thinking, why am I over the other side of the world by myself, lonely, living in a hotel?
Yeah, what am I doing? What am I doing?
I'm living out of a suitcase. Like, is this? And I remember thinking, is this the dream that I wanted? Is this, I wanted to play in Europe my whole life, and that was the up. I looked at Penny Taylor, I looked at Lauren Jackson, I looked at, Diana Taurasi and all those plays, and I thought, oh my gosh, I want to play in Europe. Like, how cool! That's incredible. And I remember getting there thinking, this is the loneliest thing in the world. So yeah, it is tough, and there are definitely days where it's the highs and the lows of it all. But I think the second I went another time to France just for a short-term deal, but when I did go to Poland, I felt a lot more equipped within myself. And I know I'd done a lot of work with LifeChanger before I left, and I think probably maturity, growth, just kind of realizing what I want in my basketball. And I'm probably a lot better in terms of, I do like my alone time now, and I'm better. I can read more, and I'm studying, so I've got other things to distract me and that type of thing. And I know that this is what I want to do, so I'm prepared to do it. But it really is tough. You're living out of a bag half the time, like, oh, I don't have that. Oh, well, I can't. Oh, that's at home. That doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. You go to the supermarket and you're like, I just want to find some cinnamon. Where's the cinnamon? What language is this? You get your app out and you're like, oh, I think that says, yep, cinnamon. Awesome.
Fantastic. Let's fast forward, or probably rewind a little bit, but 2018, talk us through the experience of Commonwealth Gold and where that now sits amongst everything that you've done.
Oh, yeah, wow. It's been 2 years. I can't even believe it. I think it still gives me goosebumps. It's probably my greatest achievement in my basketball. It was in Australia on home soil. My whole family was there.
Yep.
I think from what I'd been the previous years before, the heartache, the disappointment, the second guessing myself, the not feeling good enough, all the emotions, to then go to make that team, to be playing well. My grandparents got to see, who both just passed away, but that was my greatest achievement, that they all got to see that and represent your country on home soil, and something that I'll never ever ever take for granted. And I remember standing up on the podium, and I was standing next to Kayla Francis, or Kayla George now, and I remember just being like, this is so exciting. And she looked at me and she goes, no one can ever take this away from you. And I just, I still I get emotional thinking about it now, because no matter what happens, no one will ever take that away from me. And it has been a tough year tough years since then, or a couple of years. I missed out on the 2018 Worlds. I was the last cut, which was pretty disappointing. I was playing really good basketball, and I'd had a great year with the Opals. And anyway, I went to Europe, and I was playing well. I was playing in the Euro Cup in Poland, playing really well. And in 2019, the Opal squad got put out, and my name wasn't on it for the first time in 7 years. So really tough pill to swallow. And I haven't been back in the Opal squad since then. But you know what? Like Kayla said, no one will ever be able to take that away from me. And, I'm so grateful to have been a part of that team and a part of that journey. And that's something that I'll cherish for the rest of my life.
When you celebrate such a big moment like that would have been 2018, standing on the dais, receiving that medal, do you get time even afterwards to reflect on the trials and tribulations and the challenges? Let's go back to 2014, a horrific shoulder injury.
Mm-hmm.
And out of that, trying to come back probably a little bit too early.
Yeah.
And then the pressure that started to build around that mentally, that was a really tough time.
Yeah, so we'd been away with the Opals, and the 13-14 season, the end of the 2014, I remember we were in a game and my shoulder got yanked down. I thought, it feels weird, but you know what, you just kind of get on with it. And then it was kind of straight into Opal stuff, and I was playing really well. I was feeling really confident in my game. I had a great season, and we were in America and playing with the Opals. And I remember just thinking, I can't do this anymore. My shoulder is not good. So came back, and it was a world championship year, and the coach at the time, Brendan Joyce, I'd spoken with him, and I just thought, I think it'll just be a clean out. And he was like, yep, get a clean out, and you'll be back for the Worlds kind of thing, which I was just feeling, amazing. Like, oh my gosh, how cool. Like, I feel like I'm finally getting it. I'm going to make the Opals kind of thing. And so had the clean out, went in for the surgery, and came out with a shoulder reconstruction. So you're out for 6 months. And yeah, it was heartbreaking, to say the least. It's kind of like something's in your reach and just like slips out. Pretty tough time, but I just had to kind of pick myself up, and I think I did try and get back really too early, because the season had started for Dandenong, and so I kind of rushed back to play. And yeah, it was a tough season. I didn't really feel super confident in my body. I was still trying to play through a lot of pain. My shoulder was really strong. I'd had a great surgery, but I'd probably just pushed it to that that degree that it wasn't ready for. So that season, I remember like for a couple of nights I just couldn't sleep, and I don't think I've told many people this, but I couldn't sleep for like probably a week or two, and I remember just saying to Mum, like, I just can't sleep. Like, I don't know what's wrong with me. And I was like, I feel like my heart's like about to beat out of my chest. Like, I feel like I'm going crazy. And I don't think I'd never had anxiety before, or I'd never had that low feeling. And I remember saying to my agent, like, I haven't slept for weeks, and like, I can't really, I feel like my breath's being taken away from me, and my heart's about to like come out of my chest. And he was like, I think you have anxiety. And I was like, what's anxiety? Like, what? And
how old were you at that time?
2000, it would have been 2015. 24.
Yep.
24. Yeah. 29 now. So yeah, I just turned 24. And I remember just thinking, like, I can't sleep. I can't, like, the ball would come to me in the game, and I'd be like, oh my God, I don't even want this. Like, get it away from me, and I didn't even know what to kind of do. And yeah, it was like pretty tough. And the season ended, we kind of bombed out of finals, and I remember going straight into an Opals camp, and I was like, oh, I can't be here. Like, I'm not in a good way. So I guess that year, 2015, yeah, I probably did, it was a lot of highs and lows once again. But I feel like now, you're older, you're more mature, you learn how to deal with things, you learn what triggers you. I know if I don't sleep enough, or if I, get into that perpetual, like, the thoughts that just don't serve you, then I know that I can get into that, that anxiety feeling, or worrying what other people are doing. So one thing I definitely think it has taught me is you've got to run your own race, and like, no one's running your race, you're running your own.
That's great.
And I think
it's great self-awareness.
Yeah.
Obviously, look, 2.5 million Australians per year battle some sort of anxiety disorder. And then when you actually take a look at athletes, 45% of athletes, which is an incredible amount when you think about that and put it in context, 45% of athletes battle some sort of mental anxiety, depression, etc. So it's a heightened environment.
Yeah.
And given how we're all going to come out of this current climate around COVID, the pressure that's applying to to teenagers, to youth, etc. Some of your lessons in one, identifying your own triggers, but also some of your coping mechanisms that you now use. It's fascinating.
Yeah, no, I learnt to meditate. I will say that. Like, I absolutely learnt to meditate, and that's been such a game changer for me. When I was in France, I remember, this is, I guess, 2 years later, I deleted social media. I went off it for, nearly that 3 months, because I would find myself just thinking, oh my God, I'm not at home, and my anxiety would get worse and worse and worse. And then, the meditation, how the staying off social media, the incessant scrolling, journaling, writing stuff down, writing how you feel. Even if it's, today I just don't feel like doing anything, and but that's okay. But I'm going to say I'm grateful for the roof over my head, my parents, the friend that I spoke to, looking at the flowers outside. Something so simple, just like flicks your mentality and changes your mentality and just changes the station, because you can get into that deep, dark, spiraling thoughts really quickly. And especially as an athlete, there is so much pressure as athletes to succeed and, to be the best, and you had a bad game, so it's the end of the world. And especially when you're in Europe, it's like, no, guys, it was just a bad game. It's okay.
Perspective.
No lives are being saved here. So let's just remember what we're doing. So I think that was a big one for me, just kind of learning how to manage and deal with it. And like, I'm going to be open and honest. Like, there's definitely days where I still get it. And there are definitely, I don't think I'll ever not have it,
Yeah.
As much as I would love to say, oh yeah, I'm like free from anxiety, or, all that type of stuff. And like, and you can't describe why some days you get it and why some days you don't have it, but it just comes along. But, that's just part of me and part of my journey. And now I just learn ways to cope with it and deal with it. And I know, like, even last year, I wanted to go back to play in Europe. I just couldn't do it. I knew if I would have gone to Europe, I remember my agent, he had this really good Russian deal for me, and I agreed to it. And then I got on the plane to come home from Amsterdam from the Worlds from 3-on-3, and I had a panic attack. So I got off the plane and I called my agent straight away. I said, I can't go. He's like, you're kidding me, right? He's thinking I'm a lunatic. Like, I'm turning down this amazing deal in Europe. And I said, if I go and play in Russia this season, I will never play in Europe again. And I probably won't play basketball again, because I knew, for me, mentally, being alone in -30 by myself, when I was already tired, I was already a bit low in my mental, I just didn't have the build up of it. I was like real flat. Yeah. So I knew that I needed that season in Sydney to build myself back up again. And
so the great thing is, I think, within time and with, just getting older, your understanding of the environment you need to be in and the conditions that can actually trigger, that's such a powerful thing to hear about. You mentioned journaling. I could reach behind me. I will. Hold on.
And get your journal.
Yeah. So our team, so that's mine. And
so
I've
got mine here. Oh no, where is it? Nah. Oh yeah.
Fantastic. Every day my team starts.
Make it happen.
I love it. I love it. I think it's such a powerful thing for teenagers, adults, etc. We start, my team at LifeChanger, every day we start with, there are really 3 questions or 3 rituals that we actually make sure we do. One is, everyone has to articulate how you're feeling. 1 word, 2 words, 3 words. Often we'll get them to rate themselves out of 100 or 1,000 or whatever it might be.
Yeah.
2, what are your intentions for the day? And people need to set that and actually verbalize it. And the 3rd thing is, what are you grateful for? And no matter how you're feeling, once you go through that, that really simple routine, it just does change your outlook, and it gives you that perspective. So I think it's just so important that people have heard your message around that, because, when we look at what you've done, it's incredible. You're such a high performer, but to know, like anyone else, you face different challenges along that journey and you found your way through that. That's a really powerful story. That's bigger than the gold medal for me, Alec.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Like, I actually agree with that because, I'm so proud of the gold medal, but, some days, like, it is, yeah, it's tough, but like, I understand I'm so privileged, so blessed. Like, I remember someone said to me, oh, like, what worries did you have growing up? And I just remember saying, I had the best childhood. My grandparents lived next door to me my whole life. I've had beautiful parents, like incredible family life. And I know people don't have that growing up. And they're already behind. And I know a lot of kids now, they don't have the way I grew up. So don't get me wrong. I know I'm so beyond lucky, blessed, and I'm so grateful. But you know what? Sometimes you can't describe why it happens or how it happens, but you have to find ways to deal with it, and you have to find ways to cope with it and just move forward in your life. And I know one thing my grandparents always taught me is you just got to keep going. Like, I guess it's the Europe, and I'm sure everyone's is the same, but I guess it's the European in them that, life just keeps going, and you've just got to keep finding a way to give your best every day. And my best yesterday may not be my best tomorrow. Every day is different, but as long as you can put your head on the pillow and just say, I tried and I gave my best, and that's all you can do.
That is such powerful advice. Life, one of the great things about life, it throws different challenges, at all of us. You've had a couple of really unique ones, which I'm sure at the time were bizarre and very challenging. Obviously the time when you're almost innocently going to a function, dress up as Kanye West, paint your face black, and then the repercussions that came from that. What did you take out of that whole experience?
Wow.
Yeah.
Look, yeah, it was very interesting, very tough. Firstly, I will say Liz and I are in a really good place, and I can't hold a grudge. I can't bottle that up, because at the end of the day, I'm the one that's losing, and I know Liz is a really good person, and we've been friends for a very, very, very long time. So yeah, firstly, I just want to put that out there. But it was a really big learning experience for me, and I think the big thing was that, yeah, women's basketball may not have the media presence that I thought it did, but at the end of the day, you're on Instagram, you're on social media, people can see what you're doing. So you just have to do, you've got to do the right thing. And I wasn't doing, I don't think I was doing the wrong thing. I actually did have my arms painted too, but I had a jacket on, so it didn't look that great. There was no malice intent by it. I love Kanye West. Liz was one of my best friends. My grandparents are immigrants. I've been brought up to love everyone, respect everyone, culture, race, religion, all that type of thing. So there was no ill intent to that. And firsthand want to say that. And I apologize for the effects that it caused and the repercussions that it caused, but it was also a big learning curve. And for a lot of people, I hope that it was a big learning experience to say, you know what? We're on social media. We have a voice. So make that voice the right voice that you want to hear. Make it, little kids are watching. See that, yeah, okay, like they see what you're doing every single step and they look up to you. And what a beautiful thing that is. I think for me, that was like such a thing, like, these little kids, they're looking up to you. So like make your voice one that you feel proud of. And I don't think I wasn't proud of myself, but yeah, it was disappointing that it caused those repercussions. So that was quite upsetting for myself and for my family as well, because at the end of the day, my surname is my family's surname, and I would hate to put any bad name around my family surname, because they've brought us up in the most beautiful way possible. But, I guess it taught me resilience, that you can get through anything. And just like that, I had to put one foot in front of the other every single day. I actually did go away for about a month because I think I had to process it all and, realize what had actually happened. Like I remember one day, the day after I came home and my grandpa was watching TV, and it was like my name was flashing up on the bottom of the thing. It was like Australian Opal, Alice Kunek. And I remember just thinking, oh my God, my poor grandparents have to see this. Like I'll never put my family, through something like this again. Obviously wasn't my intention. But, you know, I think for athletes, we do have such a big presence in the world, and what a beautiful gift that is. So, like, use your voice for a really good way and send out a good message. You know, show little kids the highs, show them the lows, but also teach them, because, you know, back when I was growing up, we didn't have access to that stuff. You know, we didn't have, yeah, you saw like the Penny Taylors and, you know, Michael Jordans and stuff, but there wasn't the social media presence that there is now. So we didn't have that to look up to, but now kids do. So, and they're like sponges. They look at what we do and they mirror it. And that's amazing. You know, like, we've got the platform to help kids and use that in a good way.
It's a great perspective, and something great to come out of a tough situation. And there's a theme that goes through your whole career, and it is facing challenge, and there is a resilient element, and you do move through it with a lot of grace. So you got huge kudos and respect.
Maybe my parents might not tell you. No, I'm kidding.
That's a parent's
my
job.
Parents.
Hey, from one bizarre, challenging situation to another, I'm going to mention you're playing in France, in Lyon.
Yeah, Lyon. Yeah.
Lyon, and only there a short period of time. And I think after a loss, you come back into the change rooms and there's a punch on between your teammates. What are you thinking at the time?
So this is first week. I got there on like the Friday, had a couple of training sessions. I can't remember what day I actually got there. Had a couple of training sessions. We played in Villeneuve-d'Ascq, and they were a really, really, really good team. And I think they beat us by like 40 or 50 points. Like, I remember thinking, oh my God, what just happened? And I didn't have my best game. I won't lie about that. There was a lot of drama previously before me getting there. And so, you know, we'd come back that night. I remember, you know, all the girls are complaining, this, that, and I'm just thinking, oh my God, what is going on? Like, this is just nuts. What have I got myself into? Anyway, so I was kind of hanging with the two English-speaking girls, and they were trying to like inform me of what's been going on. And I'm thinking, oh my gosh, this is interesting. So we get back on the Sunday. Monday, we come in for a film session, and it is a free-for-all, like absolute free-for-all. Like, the coach is yelling at players are going at each other. I'm like sitting in the corner, just like moving further and further and further away, just like, oh my God. Next day, the coach got sacked. So coach number one was down. So, I mean, I think sometimes I would tell my family and I would tell my friends what was going. I think I even stopped telling people, because I was like, people think I'm crazy. Like, people are going to be like, Alice, you're making this up. You can't even make this up. And I'd be like, oh, no, you can't.
That's incredible.
But anyway, we stayed in the league. So that was the main thing. And look, I'm really proud that we got through it. And, you know, the second coach came in, and he basically was like, he was the assistant, so he became the head coach. Yep. And he was basically like, okay, you're now in pre-season. And in my head, I was like, oh, okay, so I've just come from Australia where I played a whole season. You guys have been playing for 6 months, so we shouldn't be trying to get fit. And I think we had 6 games left of the season, and we were in playdowns, but we couldn't get out of playdowns. So I'm like, okay, this is interesting. So for literally every day, 2 hours in the morning, 2 hours at night, we would run and run and run and run and run and run. I can't even tell you how much we ran. And we'd be like, so are we going to train today? And he'd be like, no, you're running.
Wow.
For 6 weeks.
There is nothing normal. There is nothing normal about that. There's nothing normal about sport in general. It dishes up the bizarre and the bewildering, and that is bewildering. Hey, every guest that comes on the show has to complete this sentence. So you're no exception. Life is ...
Oh, like a box of chocolates, I tell you that much now. Look, one thing I know in my life is highs and lows. And that's just a reality of it. It's highs and it's lows, but you can't get the highs. The highs can't be too high and the lows can't be too low. And I remember my dad saying this to me, and I think I must have been in France, or I just came back from France. I can't remember when it was, but Dad was like, you've got to stay even. You've got to find a way to cope through it all, because there are going to be some highs of highs, Commonwealth Games, lows of lows, missing the Olympics, missing, you know, the Opals. And you've got to find a way to cope and work through it every single day. You know, you find your little wins, whether that be the sun was shining today or I made 10 free throws in a row. You know, you've just got to find your way through it. And I think, not to sound cliche or anything like that, but as athletes, and I know in my life, I'm so blessed and so lucky to live the life that I live. And you've got to use that for good, and you've just got to be a powerful, positive influence in the world and just keep pushing forward. That's all I know.
29, there's still a little bit of petrol left in the tank.
A little.
I would think. If you could go back and talk to a 13-year-old, 14-year-old Alice Kunek, would you say to her it's worth it with all the highs, all the lows?
You know what I would do? I would like squeeze her so tight the way I squeeze my nephew in the morning, you know, like when he stays over, and I would just be like, it's going to be okay. Because you know what? It's always going to be okay because you find a way to make it okay. Or you're not going to get through life without highs and lows. That's just the reality of it, unless you put yourself in a little paper bag or something and don't see the world. But it's always going to be okay, and you make it okay. You know, you find a way to make it okay, and absolutely it's worth it. Oh my God, for sure it's worth it to see the world, to travel the world, to represent my country, to see, you know, to just, I know it's just putting ball in a hoop, but it's more than that. It's the impact that you make on others. It's the excitement that your family get when they get to watch you, or it's the excitement of running out, hearing your name. It's absolutely worth it in everything you do. If you want something, go get it, go after it. You're going to have so many setbacks along the way. I can't guarantee you won't have them. Can't guarantee that, but it's going to be okay. And that's what I want people to, like, you know, younger Alice to know, that you'll be fine.
The setbacks are always where all the sweet stuff is anyway.
Absolutely.
And I meant what I said in the introduction too. You know, aside from what you do on the court, you are one of the nicest people that I've met over the last 5 to 10 years off the court.
Look at you. You're
so
amazing.
all of those experiences that you've had, they have created something pretty wonderful. Thanks so much for being on this show, Ali. And I really look forward to catching up soon.
Can't wait.
Please remember, if you're ever in need of support, reach out to Lifeline or Beyond Blue. For more inside sessions, you can find us on all of the social platforms or at lifechanger.org.au. Thanks for joining us, and here's to a life well lived.
I don't think I believe, no.